One of the things I have found getting older as a woman, I'm 63, is that it's fantastic. It's way different than what I was expecting it to be.
Now, my next guest is a broadcaster, a public speaker, an author, and now a comedian. Good morning, Barbara Scully.
Hello, Kathryn, how are you?
It is great to see you.
It's
Looking
lovely to
mighty
be here.
fine. You look very summery, I might add.
Oh, you'd have to look summery when the sun
I
is shining.
know, with the weather the way it is. So listen, I would know you from the telly, from the writing, and then we had Val on about the Funny Women
Val
Awards.
Troy, yeah.
Val Troy a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first time she had said that you were getting into comedy, that you were in comedy.
Yeah,
you
well,
got a new show, and she was the one who bullied you into it.
She and her sidekick, Orla Di Mantino, the pair of them, yeah, they do the kind of Irish events for Funny Women, which is an English organisation, which was set up about 20 years ago to promote women in comedy because, as we all know, there weren't very many women in comedy. It's improving all the time.
Yeah.
So they run the Dublin shows. So about 2 years ago, they were running a show and I'd never heard of Funny Women, didn't know anything about it. And they rang me and they said, would I meet them for a coffee? They wanted to tell me about this project they were doing. Now, I assumed they wanted me to help them promote it. So I was like, yeah, sure. And they were all about supporting women and women supporting women and women of all ages and women in comedy. And I was like, yeah, that's all great. And I was like, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, we'd like you to be in it. And I went, you got to be kidding me. Absolutely no way. I am not doing it. And they kind of insisted and kept insisting and kept me kind of kidnapped out in Malahide until I agreed to do something.
And I mean, because when we think of stand-up comedy and people say it is the scariest job, that the thoughts of it is the scariest job in the world. And I mean, you had you'd written your book.
Yeah.
You're used to performing on the telly, but stand-up comedy
A live audience
is a different medium.
A live audience is different. And I dabbled a small bit in a kind of a charity kind of acting-y thing a few years ago and I never got beyond the terror. Like, I was terrified, like to the point where I thought I was going to throw up before I went on stage.
Right.
And I met a real actor who said to me, Barbara, don't worry, as soon as you get on stage, you'll be fine. And the high afterwards. And he met me afterwards and he said, so now what about the high? And I said, no, there's no high. I feel as if I've just survived a multi-car pile-up and I've just realised I'm actually still alive. So there was no high. But comedy, it was terrifying. And I mean, that first night that I went along, I arrived into the green room in Whelan's where they were doing the gig. And honestly, I was old enough to be everybody's mammy. And I'm sure people were saying, who's your woman? What's she here for? So I felt like a real fish out of water. But as soon as you feel, which thankfully happened within the first few minutes, as soon as you feel you've got the audience on your side and they're laughing, it's like rocket fuel. It's amazing. So, I got bitten by the bug and I thought, oh, I'd like to do this. And it kind of chimed with it. You mentioned my book, which is called Wise Up, available from barbarascully.com. And it is about getting older as a woman. And one of the things I have found getting older as a woman, I'm 63, is that it's fantastic. It's way different than what I was expecting it to be and that what society tells women getting older is actually all about.
What were you expecting it to be?
I was expecting it to be this downward slide towards kind of death and destruction, basically, you know, that you were just going to, you know, everything was going to get less and worse as you got older. Instead of which I find I'm at a place where I have huge amounts of freedom. Now, I'm fully aware that that could change at any moment. But at the moment, my children are grown. One of them hasn't fledged yet. 2 of them are in Australia, which is Scully. But my grandchildren are out there as well, so I don't even have to do babysitting. My parents are both gone. I don't have those responsibilities anymore. So I'm suddenly going, I'm free to do whatever I want. It's very like when you leave school. You know, when you leave school, I left school at 18 and you think, oh, the world's my oyster. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I can be whoever I want. It's like that.
Yeah.
You're kind of going, well, what am I going to do now? Because now I can do stuff just for myself.
Me.
You've done the hard yards of the years, putting everybody else first, your kids, your husband, your elderly parents. And suddenly you go, I don't have to put anybody else first. So it's amazing.
But it's also your attitude as well, Barbara. And I think I would say that you are probably a particular type of person because just when I knew that I was talking to you, I was reading that, you know, when you were 50, you went looking for a new job. There'd been a 10-year gap on the CV.
Yeah.
You'd had your kids.
Yeah.
Money was tight.
Yeah.
And you said, Jesus, right, where is my life going to go? I need to start making some money and I need to do something. And you started writing.
Yeah.
You said, there's 2 things I like to do. I like to write and I like to talk.
Yeah.
And you set off about putting yourself out there.
But that was out of complete desperation. That was after I had literally tried to get a job. And prior to my 10 years being the job with no title because I refused to call myself a housewife. I never married my house. But as soon when I realised I needed to go back to work because kids were getting older and we needed the money and there was a recession. Previous to that 10 years, I'd worked as a public relations officer for a national charity. I had loads of experience. I could do event management, I could do fundraising, I could do PR, I could do all of that. Thought, okay, there's not a lot of jobs out there, but surely I will find a job. I have great experience. Not only did I not get a job, I never even got an interview. And that was a combination, I am convinced, of sexism with ageism.
100%. And actually, I was in a shop in Dublin off Grafton Street the other day, met the most amazing woman who sold me 3 beautiful dresses. She was in her... I'd say probably late 50s. I don't want to say, but we had a conversation on exactly this, and it was very difficult because I said, you are the best saleswoman that I've come across in Dublin. And it was in Oliver Bonus, actually, I would say it. And she said it was very difficult to get a job. And she lit that shop up. She was brilliant at her job.
There's so much ageism in society,
100%.
particularly when it comes to women.
Yeah.
Because all people see is your age. And they don't see the fact that you have loads of experience. We are living longer and healthier lives. So for women in particular, once you get postmenopause, my grandmothers were both dead in their 60s. But my mother lived to 86. I'd hope to at least get there, if not beyond, which means that once you go, say you get 60, you're postmenopause, you have at least 20 to 30 years left where you should be in reasonably good nick and you've loads of energy and you have all the freedom and you've the wisdom that comes with all that lived experience.
Well, that's the show. It's older, bolder, wiser. I love the show. And you're basically saying, so tell us about the show.
Well, the show is basically, it's a step on, and that's when after I did the comedy with Orla and Val and Funny Women, I thought this might be a vehicle with which I can continue the message of to women to look forward to getting older. There's so much good stuff that's coming down the tracks if you take your blinkers off and don't listen to all the anti-aging baloney and all that other thing that just says the only worth you have is in how you look. Get rid of all of that and enjoy life. So the show is a combination of storytelling and stand-up comedy. I look at some of the ridiculous things about being a woman back, and I look at some of the things that were formative to me back over the various decades of my life. I talk quite a lot about smear tests because I didn't know how to organise myself with smear tests for donkey's years and made loads of mistakes in that department. I talk about in the 80s I was in inverted commas, and I'm using this because that was what the official title was, I was an unmarried mother. That was kind of interesting as well. So I talk about some stories from my own life, some stand-up comedy, and my aim is that people, and by the way, I do get men at these shows as well. I don't get a huge number, but I'm very grateful for the men who come along and who
You're
all
always
enjoy
accepting of more testosterone in your audience,
Absolutely,
Barbara.
absolutely. But it's important that men hear this message as well. But what I'm hoping is that people will go home having been at the show, having had a good lot of laugh, good belly laugh. There's nothing that makes you feel better than having a good old laugh, but also feeling better about getting older than they had coming in. That's what I want. Because I think if older women around the world... Look at Mary Robinson. I think she is an amazing older woman. Look at Kathryn Thomas, the dig that's starting in Tuam at the moment. Wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for her. These are older women in their matriarchal power and changing things. And I think if women woke up to that, the world would be a fantastically better place. So don't listen to the baloney that you're told that life is over when you're starting to look your age. Rock whatever way you want to rock, whatever way you want to look, and do whatever it is that you want to do.
Barbara Scully, I'm going to send a little DM to Joanne McNally there, and you should be her support act.
Absolutely.
Barbara Scully, lovely to see you again.
Thank you, Kathryn.
Thanks a million.